Now we can see the meaning of elasticity of demand. Meaning of elasticity of demand. Elasticity means sensitiveness or responsiveness. Elasticity of demand means response in demand. The elasticity of demand explains change in demand due to the changes in the determinants of the demand. There are three types of demand. First one is price elasticity of demand. Second one is income elasticity of demand. And third one is cross elasticity of demand. Now we can see the meaning for price elasticity of demand. It shows the relationship between proportionate change in demand and proportionate change in the price. It means it explains how much change in price and it leads to how much change in the demand. The formula is proportionate change in demand divided by proportionate change in price. Now we can see the definition for elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand in a market, great or small, according to the demand increases much or little for a given fall in the price and diminish much or little for a given in the price. So the definition is given by Marshall. Now we can see the types of price elasticity of demand. There are five types of elasticity of demand. Perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, relatively elastic demand, relatively inelastic demand, and unitary elastic demand. Now we can see the perfectly elastic demand. When the price is constant, if there is a change in demand, it is said to be perfectly elastic demand. It means the demand may increase or decrease without change in price. Here the value of EP is infinity. The demand curve in the case parallel to OX axis. The next one is perfectly inelastic demand. When the price is changed, if there is no change in the demand, it is said to be perfectly inelastic demand. It means the price may be increase or decrease, but the demand is constant. Here the value of EP is equal to 0. The demand curve in this case parallel to OY axis. The next one is relatively elastic demand, that is for only luxury goods. If the proportionate change in demand is more than proportionate change in the price, it is said to be relatively inelastic demand. It means a little change in price leads to a more change in the demand. Here the value of EP is greater than 1 the demand curve in case of the slope downwards from left to right. The next one is relatively inelastic demand, that is necessary goods. If the proportionate change in demand is less than the proportionate change in the price, it is said to be relatively inelastic demand. It means a more change in the price leads to less change in the demand. Here, the value of EP is less than 1. The demand curve in this case slope downwards from left to right, but is steeper than relatively elastic demand. Next one is unitary elastic demand. If the proportionate change in the demand is equal to the proportionate change in the price, it is said to be unitary elastic demand. It means the change in demand and change in price are same. Here, the value of EP is 1. Generally, comfort goods have unitary elastic demand. Unitary elastic demand curve slopes downwards from left to right, but it is a rectangular hyperbola. Next we can see the income elasticity of demand. It shows the proportionate change in demand with respect to the proportionate change in income. It means it explains how much change in the income and it leads to how much change in demand. The formula is a proportionate change in demand divided by proportionate change in income. There are 5 types of income elasticity of demand. First one is perfectly elastic income demand, perfectly inelastic income demand, relatively elastic income demand, relatively inelastic income demand, and unitary elastic income demand. The first one is perfectly elastic income demand. When the income is constant, if there is a change in the demand, if it is said to be perfectly elastic income demand, it means the demand may be increase or decrease without change in income. Here the value of EY is infinity. The demand curve in this case parallel to OY axis. Perfectly inelastic demand. When the income is changed, if there is no change in the price, it is said to be perfectly inelastic demand. It means the income may increase or decrease, but the demand cannot is constant. Here the value of EY is 0. The demand curve in this case is parallel to OY axis. Next one is relatively elastic demand. If the proportionate change in the demand is more than the proportionate change in the income, it is said to be a relatively elastic income demand. It means a little change in the income leads to more change in demand. Here the value of the EY is greater than 1. The demand curve in this case slopes downwards from left to right. Relatively inelastic demand. If the proportionate change in the demand is less than proportionate change in income, it is said to be relatively inelastic income demand. It means a more change in the income leads to less change in the demand. Here the value of EY is less than 1. The demand curve in this case slopes downwards from left to right. Unitary elastic demand. If the proportionate change in the demand is equal to the proportionate change in income, it is said to be unitary elastic demand. It means the change in income and changes in the demand are same. Here the value of EY is 1. The demand curve in this case also upward from left to right. Thank you.